The coffee hit my lap before I heard her laugh. Hot, sharp, spreading fast across my dress. I grabbed a napkin, pressed down. No scream, no gasp, just breath. One shallow, sharp pull of air. "Oh my God," Lana said, grinning. "I guess I'm clumsy with expensive blends." Her voice dripped sugar. Her nails tapped the table. "You okay, Evelyn?" That was a limited roast. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Around us, the chatter slowed. Forks paused midair. No one reached for a towel. Damien sat beside her, his coffee untouched. His phone lit up on the table. He looked at the stain, then past it. Past me. "It's fine," I said quietly. I stood up, napkin still pressed to my leg. "Just a little heat." Lana laughed again. "Well, you've been through worse, right?" A few people smiled, unsure why. I scanned the room. Damien's work friends. Lana's cousins, real estate partners I'd never met. A brunch I hadn't known was happening until that morning. Just stopped by Mom. Nothing fancy. They'd rented the back room of the golf club. Long table place cards, champagne flutes. Not one had my name. On the sideboard next to the fruit tray sat the wedding album. Open. Page of smiles, Lana in white, Damien in gray. Every guest labeled, every photo polished. And where my face had once been, just a cut. A clean, silent slice through memory. I pressed my palm against the coffee mark. Still warm. "I should clean this," I said. No one moved. No one offered to help. I picked up my purse. Left the half-full cup on the table. Walked slow, steady. Outside, the light hurt my eyes. The air felt thinner. I kept walking past the valet down the sidewalk. My dress clung wet to my leg. My hand still pressed over the stain. I didn't shake. I didn't cry. At the corner, I looked back. Through the glass window, Lana raised a toast. Damien lifted his glass. Not once did he glance toward the door. I kept walking. I didn't turn around again. By the time I reached my car, the stain had started to cool. He slid the paper across the table. "Just a form," Damien said. "Makes things easier if anything ever happens. Standard stuff. Just sign at the bottom." I didn't reach for it right away. The living room was quiet, too quiet for a visit. No coffee, no small talk. Lana stood behind him, arms folded, gaze fixed on the mantel. I picked up the pen. The paper was thick, smooth, newly printed, but the date 3 weeks ago. The day before, I fainted in the garden. I traced the edge of the document with my finger. Durable power of attorney, full access, health, legal, financial, no expiration. "For convenience," he repeated. "You know, just in case." Lana didn't speak, just watched. My hand tightened slightly. The pen hovered, paused. I didn't shake, but my thumb pressed deeper into the barrel. The smell of fresh ink hit me. The same kind I used years ago when drafting trust templates for clients, back when my name meant something in this town. I hadn't held that kind of paper in a long time. I exhaled, not loud, just enough. Then I folded it neatly, corner to corner, and slipped it into my bag. "I'll think about it," I said. Damien blinked. "You don't trust me?" I stood. I didn't say that. Lana smiled, but didn't show teeth. He opened his mouth again, but I was already halfway to the door. Outside, the air cut sharper than before. I walked slowly down the front steps. My heel caught for a moment on the concrete lip, but I didn't stumble. Inside my purse, the paper stayed flat. Untorn, but not forgotten. The car engine clicked once, then started. I didn't drive home right away. I parked by the old library where no one watched. I sat with the windows down, just sat. My hands rested in my lap. Still. When the breeze picked up, I took out the form again. Read every word. Then again. Then I slid it beneath the liner of my bag, zipped it shut. and turned the key in the ignition. I opened the door myself. No one greeted me. Chatter filled the hall. Long tables, white tablecloths, plates already cleared. I spotted Damien at the front, adjusting a microphone. Lana laughed with someone from the Chamber of Commerce. I stepped further in. No seat had my name. I scanned the row of cards. Board members, investors, friends. Nothing for me. I waited, just in case someone had moved it. No one looked up. Lana saw me, tilted her head. "Oh," she said, lifting a glass. "Didn't think you'd come." I nodded once. No smile. Damien tapped the mic. "Let's wrap this with a thank you," he said. "To those who believed in Mercer Point from day one. To the family who made this possible." People clapped. He didn't look at me. I stood in the back, arms folded. Unmoving, Mercer Point. The name hit harder than the silence. My husband's name, our property, the land he left me. And now it was the title of their next development. No mention of me, no photo, no word. I didn't cry. I didn't clap. I stayed still, watching my son speak about legacy like he invented it. A volunteer passed by with leftover pamphlets. I took one, then two more, slipped them into my purse. The map inside showed Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the build. The layout traced the exact shape of our family's old orchard, the same one I'd refused to sell last year, now under construction. I pressed my thumb into the corner of the page. Hard. Lana passed by me as the applause faded. She didn't stop, didn't nod, just walked past like I wasn't there. I stayed a few minutes longer, took a coffee from the back table, sipped once. It had gone cold. Outside, the sky turned heavy. My car was parked near the loading dock. I walked slow, careful. At home, I spread the 3 pamphlets across the table, laid them flat. The logo in the corner glared up at me in clean serif font, Mercer Point. A legacy begins. I turned one over, studied the legal line at the bottom. Developed in partnership with DLM Holdings, Damien Lee Mercer. The knock came hard. 3 sharp hits. I opened the door and saw the badge first, then the uniform, then the look that tells you they've already decided. Evelyn Mercer. Yes. The deputy didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. "You're being detained for questioning regarding forged signatures connected to a family trust." I stepped aside so they could see inside. Nothing to hide. No rush. My hands stayed at my sides. "Complaint came from family," he added, almost apologetic. I nodded once. Lana's voice came back to me from earlier that morning, bright and careful on the phone. "She's been confused lately. We're just trying to protect her estate." They let me grab my coat. I reached into the pocket, felt the small square of plastic. The thumb drive slid easily into the lining as I adjusted the fabric. No one noticed. No one ever does when a woman moves slowly on purpose. The cuffs clicked. Cold. Tight. Not painful. Just final. Outside, neighbors stood still behind curtains. No one came out. No one asked questions. In the back of the car, I closed my eyes, not in fear, in control. My jaw tightened. I counted my breathing, in, out, long, even. I didn't speak. The station smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. Paperwork moved faster than people. A name written. A signature, signed mine this time, watched closely. They took my belongings, my purse, my keys, the pamphlets from Mercer Point. The deputy flipped through them, frowned, then set them aside. The cell door opened. Metal. Narrow. Cold bench bolted to the wall. I sat down straight. Back tall. Hands folded. Eyes forward. The door shut behind me with a sound that stayed in the room. Not loud. Just complete. I stared at the wall. Pale. Blank. No marks. No cracks. Somewhere down the hall, a phone rang. Someone laughed. Someone else coughed. I stayed still. They thought this would break me. That silence meant surrender. I leaned my head back against the wall and waited. The cell door buzzed, opened. Blanchard stepped in, briefcase in hand, face unreadable. He sat without a word, unlatched the case, and pulled out a single item. A red envelope. Worn edges. Sealed tight. My name written in my husband's handwriting. He gave me this 5 years ago, Blanchard said. Told me not to bring it unless you were betrayed. I didn't speak. I reached for it. Slowly, hands steady, I pressed it to my chest. Just for a moment. Warmth from nothing. But it grounded me. My lips shook once, then stopped. I broke the seal. Inside, legal pages. Originals. Not scans. Stamped. Dated. My husband's name signed in thick black ink. Clause 14.1. He never told me about. If any direct descendant attempts to alter, seize, or falsely represent the terms of this trust, their interest shall be voided in full. My thumb pressed harder into the corner of the page. Beneath it, another document. Audio recording condition met. Dated. Confirmed. Blanchard leaned in. The call Lana made to the notary recorded. The draft changes. You never signed them. And the original trust was never overwritten. Your husband made sure it couldn't be. I nodded. Slowly. They tried to file a new version. 2 months ago, he continued. It triggered the clause. I read it all. Twice. Folded the documents. Slipped them back inside the red envelope. Tell the judge I'll speak tomorrow, I said. He looked at me. You sure? Yes. Flat. Clear. No emotion. He closed the briefcase. I'll handle the filing. As he stood, I stood with him. The door buzzed again. A guard called him back. I sat down once more. Not out of weakness. Out of patience. I placed the envelope on the bench beside me, one hand resting on top. They thought I'd come apart in here. But my husband hadn't left me empty. He had left me this. And now they were the ones who'd never read the fine print. I stepped through the door. Lana greeted me first. Peace dinner, she said, smiling like it meant something. No hard feelings, right? The dining table was set like a magazine spread, gold-rimmed plates, stemmed glasses, candles. Too perfect. Too fast. Damien pulled out my chair. I sat. They had already poured the wine. To moving forward, Lana said, raising her glass. As a family. I lifted mine. Paused. Her eyes flicked to it just a second too long. I set the glass down. I'm still on antibiotics, I said. Water's safer. Lana's mouth twitched. Damien looked at his phone. The food arrived in courses. She talked through all of it, her new yoga class plans for a trip, ideas for a second property. I nodded at the right moments. Ate slowly. Drank nothing but water. When dessert came, Damien leaned closer. It's good you're back, Mom. It's better this way. I wiped the corner of my mouth with my napkin. Careful. Unhurried. My gaze stayed on his. Sure, I said. As they cleared the table, Lana brought out a new envelope. We thought maybe this time you'd feel comfortable signing, she said sweetly. Just updates to help manage things. I took it, didn't open it. Later, I said. She smiled wider. Too wide. After dinner, I thanked them. Hugged Damien. Lana hesitated, then leaned in. Glad we're past all that, she whispered. I said nothing. At home, I locked the door behind me, turned on the lamp, sat at the kitchen table. I pulled the small recorder from my purse, pressed rewind, waited, then played it back, her voice, from just before dessert, whispered under the clink of plates. As soon as she signs, we file. If not, we go back to Plan B. I pressed pause, let the words sit. The wine glass I'd switched out still rested in my bag, unused. I placed it on the table, next to the envelope, next to the recorder. Then I sat back and waited. I pressed play again. Lana's voice crackled low, just above the sound of forks and plates. Once we get her signature, she's out. Burn the originals. No hesitation, no uncertainty, just strategy. I let it play twice more, memorized the cadence, the smug control. Then I clipped the audio segment, saved it under a name only I'd recognize, and attached it to the message draft. Blanchard's name filled the to line. I hovered over the send button. Then I clicked. Done. I sat back. Breath held for a second, then released. No shakiness. No regret. The kitchen stayed quiet. Just the steady tick of the wall clock. I reached for my coffee. The mug left a faint ring on the paper below. I lifted it. There we were. Me and Edward. Standing in front of Mercer Point long before it had a name. Back when it was just our land. His hand rested over a red folder tucked beneath his arm. Even then, he'd known how to protect what mattered. I ran a finger over the edge of the photo, then tucked it into my bag. The recorder stayed beside my phone. No need to hide it anymore. I stood, crossed the room, looked at myself in the hallway mirror, blouse slightly off. I adjusted the collar, smoothed it down. Tomorrow, I said, quietly. The word held. Balanced, no need for more. I walked in last. They were already standing, Lana in a fitted blazer, Damien in his best suit, hands folded like this was just another transaction. Their lawyer whispered something to the clerk. All confidence. All control. I didn't rush. I took my place quietly. The judge cleared his throat. Before we proceed with final remarks, I will. His phone rang. He frowned, picked it up, listened. His eyes lifted toward me. Ms. Mercer, he said slowly, do you have something for us? I nodded once, opened my folder. 3 items, placed in silence on the table before him. First, the original trust papers signed, notarized, dated in my husband's hand. No edits, no amendments. Second, the red envelope, still sealed, still marked in his handwriting. Third, the audio file, a USB drive labeled simply, dinner. The judge opened the documents first, scanned quickly, then slower. He paused at the signature page, pulled up a digital copy of the ones Damien had submitted, compared them. His hand tightened, then he pressed play. Lana's voice filled the room. Once we get her signature, she's out. Burn the originals. Not loud, but every word landed like glass breaking. No one spoke. Damien shifted. Lana's mouth opened, but nothing came out. The judge leaned back, looked at them. Interesting, he said. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. I just folded my hands on my lap. The judge turned to me again. These originals were held by a third party. Yes, I said. My late husband's attorney. On instruction. The judge nodded, then turned to Damien. You may want to sit down. The gavel came down. Motion granted. All amendments made under fraudulent conditions are nullified. Lana stood up. What? Her voice cracked. No, this isn't. She's manipulating. The judge didn't flinch. Ms. Mercer, he said. Turning to her, I suggest you sit down or leave the room. Damien stepped forward. We didn't mean there was confusion. My mother. She's not well. The judge cut him off. Your mother's documentation is clear. Your signatures were not. The trust will be restored as originally written. All accounts tied to DLM Holdings are frozen pending audit. Lana sat down hard, face pale, hands shaking. Damien said nothing. I stood, buttoned my coat. I didn't look at either of them, not once. I walked past the table, past the clerk, past the eyes that now watched them, not me. Outside, the wind had shifted. A new sign had gone up at the edge of the courthouse lawn facing the main road. Mercer Point, pending transfer to original trust holder. I didn't stop to read it. I just kept walking. At home, I stepped out of my shoes, hung up my coat, moved through the quiet hall. I opened the drawer in the old sideboard, the one that still smelled faintly of cedar, placed the red envelope inside, closed it. No key, no lock, just silence. I poured the coffee slowly. Steam rose. Quiet. Steady. I set the pot down, picked up the mug with both hands, and lifted it to my lips. No shaking. The first drop didn't spill. I breathed in. Deep. Unrushed. For once, the inhale reached all the way down. The exhale didn't catch. Outside, no cars in the driveway. No phone calls. No footsteps overhead. No tension crawling up my back. Just the hum of the refrigerator, the birds outside, and the faint tick of the old clock above the sink. I sat at the table. One cup. One chair. No one else. Beside the mug, the glossy brochure still lay open, Mercer Point bold across the cover. I reached for a pen, drew one long line through the name. Not out of anger, just correction. It was never theirs. I flipped the page, folded it shut, placed it under the mug as a coaster. Let it absorb the warmth for once. The window creaked as I opened it. Light poured in, pale and clean. The air smelled like morning. Nothing more. I sat down again, held the mug, watched the sunlight reach across the floor. Slowly, uninterrupted.